actually did use chemicals because this is what's recommended, and we didn't know any better at the time. Then we actually watched how it was done, no, through that first year, and they're putting the stuff out with their hands. They're calling it dabai, medicine, and then you realize, no, it's going into the soil, it's going into the, how toxic it is. And you do a little research, of course. All you have to do is look up some of these chemicals, and then you realize what they're doing to you. So after that first year, we said immediately, okay, let's stop the chemicals, and we'll put our whatever, biology knowledge to use and find some alternative means.
We look at other ways of agriculture in different parts of the world. And I've studied and read a lot about ecological agriculture, what we would call alternative agriculture. But here I actually see it for the first time, what truly ecological agriculture is.
Pesticides are very different groups. No? There's organophosphates, which were banned, and they've evolved over the years. And some of them are actually neurotoxins because they're killing insects. I mean, insects have the same biology as we do, basically, right? So it's just a matter of dosage. What kills something in a higher dosage will kill other animals in a bigger dosage. So we've seen films of somebody spraying and birds falling out of the air when they're spraying their plantations. Whether they were spraying at a high concentration, higher than normal or not, I don't know, but the effects are there, and there's a lot of chemistry available on these, what they do.
Because when you do get to knowing how do plants really defend themselves, and are you able to enable that when you take a lot of the pesticide sort of muck away from our systems, the agri-ecosystem is quite resilient if you enable a situation where you come more towards natural farming systems. And people are doing it all over the world in absolutely different climatic zones. You can deal with pests and pathogens as a part of the ecosystem, and they're not called pests.
I think it's, for farmers, it may be a lot easier to grow only one type of vegetable and use a lot of pesticides in order to keep the crop healthy. I think farmers may have the idea that using alternatives are a lot more work, and maybe this is the case, but maybe they're afraid that it will cost too much money, too much time, too much manpower to prevent them from using alternatives to using pesticides.
You see pests, for example, that are there, but they are not at a level where they would harm the plants to the extent you don't get the crop that you need, but rather the balance between the pests themselves as part of an ecosystem and the approach to controlling those. So for example, Sujata said they do not have a problem with mosquitoes here. They dug a little pond for frogs, and the frogs eat the mosquitoes.
The lobbying power of the organizations you're up against. No, these are all big multinational companies. Everybody from Monsanto to people like even Kellogg's, because they sell a product that has corn flakes, and that corn is probably GM, and they make the rules and the laws, and they've made rules in the U.S. that you can't label against GM, or you can't say that this is GM free. Whereas in places like Europe, you have to say it has GM in it. So these are very powerful groups that you're up against, and they have a lot of lobbying power and advertising power.
Initially, it was amazing, this technology. Imagine being able to sort of change the genetics of an organism around. But the way the industry took over and the big money that it spent, it did sort of completely cascade and escalate into this enormous agribusiness. It became the foundation of that, without really giving enough space for matters that concerned health on a long-term, allergenic reactions that were finally being expressed, all the environmental concerns that are now linked with GM organisms coming into the world. it was like short stepping on all that.
You just really need to put the time into knowing more about what you're eating. I think a lot of what we eat is not really food, real food. You know, it's really scary that most of it's kind of manufactured, the genetically modified kind of.
I believe there's a lot of genetic modification and processed foods going on in Holland. There are some small initiatives growing to go against this. Small organic farms are starting to blossom. More and more organic health stores are coming up in the cities. A problem is that it's usually very expensive for people to buy these products.
So we do not have this kind of agriculture in the West. At least I have not seen it. We have organic agriculture, but again, it's small monoculture plots. And India really is, from our perspective, the leader in this area.
So many cases of health problems that are arising due to pesticide use, including things like cancers, and there's not 100% proof, but there's a very, very good correlation and linkages. The first thing would be to show them this is what they're putting into their bodies. A lot of the people are not aware of that. Like when we first came here, these people looked at pesticides as medicine. They call it madhu. So they're not aware of its toxicity and the effects it has.
The incidence of cancer has grown up. Most of us see it within our families or friend circles. Our skin diseases, endocrine systems are targeted, reproductive systems are targeted. Where are we going to draw the line? With all this endosulfan story that was revealed, with a lot of work that Down to Earth did and a lot of other groups did, why isn't it completely banned across the country? DDT is still available. All the toxins, they're coming into our food cycles, into mother's milk. Orissa, Japan, women have the highest levels of chemicals in mother's milk. Come on, which way are we headed?